Good morning, friends. It's Wednesday, November 11th, time for daily reflection. Today is also Veterans Day. To those of you who have served in the armed forces, this is your day. And I want to thank you also for your service to our country. While I never served, I know that many who are part of Shepherd of the Hills have, or you have family members who have served. And I have heard your many and varied stories of heroism. Just putting on the uniform seems to be a heroic act in my estimation. Stories of sacrifice, time away from family and friends during holiday seasons and milestone moments. Stories of the joys of the camaraderie that you have with your fellow airmen, GIs, CBs, whoever they are. Coasties as well. Now, my dad served during the Korean conflict. And as he frequently told me, he had really tough duty. He had to sail the Mediterranean Sea and make sure it was free from conflict. I loved his humor. I love his humor. He also shared stories of how he would send home parts of his paycheck every period to my mom, his wife. Always the saver, my dad was. And then the things that he did for fun. Because he was in the Mediterranean, he got to go to places like Rome, Athens, Paris, other countrysides and small villages. He shared one time that he was frustrated that not enough of the fellow seamen would come together so that they could get the trip to England while they were at port somewhere in the Mediterranean. He literally signed up to serve and to see the world, or at least the European continent part of the world. And I'm not sure if the Navy fed his wanderlust appetite or created it. The Navy also helped him get his college education with the GI Bill. And I don't doubt that he and my mom used a VA loan to get their first house in New York. Today, I also think of Hal Jones, a member here at Shepherd of the Hills until his death. Hal was served on the European front during World War II as a medic, especially during the time of the Battle of the Bulge. It had to have been a horrible time to be in the military at the Battle of the Bulge, Northern Europe, December 1944 through January 1945. Terrible weather, cold, nasty, ugly. And there was Hal doing his medic responsibilities. But Hal, like many of those other World War II veterans, was quiet about his Army life. The motto of that greatest generation was, "We did what we were asked to do." And that motto ran deep in Hal's blood. So I was honored during some of the last visits I had with him, where he shared some of the stress, the anxiety, and the horror of that time of his life. But just as so many of the greatest generation folks did, he did not allow that to define him. He knew what he had done. He knew he was called to do it. He just did. No, he looked at the contributions he made in social services and care for others as what he saw as his major achievements in life. Indeed, a great generation person. Another veteran that I think of today is Chris. I don't remember Chris's last name, but Chris was 4 years older than me. He served in Vietnam, and when his tour of duty was over in 1970, Chris and his wife moved to Huntington, New York, where I was living at the time. Chris and his wife joined Gloria Dei Lutheran Church, my church, and also became an assistant scoutmaster at Troop 34, which is where I was participating. Chris made sure that he worked with the older scouts. He asked, and the scoutmaster said, "Absolutely, go right ahead." Now, Chris shared with us his strong desire for all of us senior scouts to make sure we stayed in school. College was important. Make sure you're there. He kept harping on that. There were other times when he shared some of his Vietnam War experience. He was part of what I think was communications, but certainly in the area of photography. He worked with the newspaper. Maybe it was still called Stars and Stripes. I don't know. I don't remember him ever saying the name, but he did say that sometimes he went to the front lines where he took some pictures. I always wondered what happened to those pictures. He never shared them with us. Maybe he couldn't. I don't know. But he did shock us with some of those stories in the trenches. I remember those stories, though, those statements, though, of stay in school, keep your college deferment project intact. Always in dialogue with seniors about what colleges they were applying to, had they been accepted, and where would they attend. I do remember clearly an encounter in early 1972, probably late February, early March, and that was my senior year in high school. College letters had gone out, and I think I was still waiting for answers. Chris wanted to know where I had applied, so I told him, and I told him which one I hoped would say yes, and where I hoped I would go. He kept reminding me that college was important, stay in school. And at first, I thought that was a little upsetting because I was a good student. I didn't think I'd flunk out of college. And then he said, you need to stay in school because your lottery number is 178. For those of you who are listening who don't know what the lottery system was for selective service back in those ancient days, every year, early in the year, the selective service had a lottery where they drew plastic balls out of some sort of device, one for each day of the year, each birthday for every male who turned 18 in a specific year. I remember looking at Chris and saying, what are you talking about? He knew my birthday, but he didn't know my birth year. You see, 178 was for those kids born my birthday the year before me. I was relieved to tell him that he was off by a year, and I didn't have to worry about it. My lottery hadn't been held yet. When it was held the next year, my lottery number was 130. That was a little more scary. But I was still in school, staying there. And in January of 1973, when the bells rang at the Weaver Chapel at Wittenberg campus, we were told the war was over. The armistice had been signed. The Paris Peace Accord had been reached. I had escaped service. To the many of you who have served, those of you still around from World War II, those of you around from the Korean conflict, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Afghanistan, and the other conflicts that we've been part of our life, thank you. To those of you who are survivors of veterans, survivors of veterans or those who died while in service, thank you for your service as well. I remember sitting with families as folks were deployed during the Desert Storm years. While you kept up that strong front so as not to allow your own stories and own anxieties and fears overwhelm you when you were having conversations with your loved one far away. Serving here, I also have been with spouses and children who are here while their loved one has been deployed elsewhere to a trouble spot. And then there is always the rejoicing when everyone is back home safe and sound. I hope those of you who are veterans will take today to remember your service. But the rest of us will also take time today to remember the importance of this day. Now, I've observed so far on Facebook so many posts about veterans, spouses, parents, fathers mostly. Some of you have also posted your own veteran service moments. And also those many posts that have been thanking you for your service, so I joined them. And I am thrilled that I haven't heard many ads. In fact, I don't think I've heard a single ad yesterday or today about how this is Veterans Day sales going on and we should be buying bedding or furniture or clothes or something else. Maybe we're turning a page and understanding that Veterans Day is not about sales, but about saying thank you for service. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Well, at least seeing the pictures here. And as Jesse will probably hold up a sign because I'll forget, look up and look at you in the cameras. But until then, please, 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 wash your hands a couple times a day, 3, 4, 5 if you can. Washing for 20 seconds at a time. Use hand lotion to keep your hands nice and soft. Please, please, please also wear your masks when you go outside. Wear your masks when you're around people, other than your family and household folks. Please also try to limit the number of gatherings you have. I'm getting anxious about the number of COVID cases that keep rising in California, and we're hearing it's now because of family gatherings, household gatherings, people coming in. We're in the middle of getting ready for Thanksgiving and down the road, Easter. Christmas! Make sure you know which holidays are coming up, Pastor Bob. Please be safe. Wear those masks when you're with people other than your household friends or household members. Stay home if you're sick. And of course, Sergeant Esterhaus says, be careful out there.